And this is a little less than random. Today we will be talking about the Joker. Oh, of course, I forgot. I'm not the Joker, but it's me, Jason.
You can tell jokes. Oh, Andrew.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you're Batman. I don't know.
Isn't that supposed to be a secret, right?
Yeah.
So if I were Batman,
No, your secret would be you don't want anyone to know you're Bruce Wayne.
Right.
But that's a pretty good Joker laugh. I've just kind of learned it on the fly. So we'll be talking about the movie. Yes, there will be spoiler alerts / trigger warnings.
Right.
We will also be talking about
spoiler alerts.
The controversies behind the film, supposedly. I'm pretty sure there's every video out there already talking about it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I imagine that if you're listening to this and you hear that we're talking about the Joker, that you'll have already watched the film or you'll go watch it.
We're assuming you've watched it already.
Yeah. Does anybody not watch a movie just because they know that the Joker is the Joker?
I think they watch it because, it's like the most iconic villain out there, especially one without powers, right?
But yeah, you kind of already know what's going to happen. It's sort of like the Titanic. It's like the Titanic is going to sink. Nobody was shocked at the end. It's
just how it unfolds, It's a different narrative because it's about his origin story, different from that of the comics, and it's kind of inspired by the Martin Scorsese films, especially Taxi Driver and...
I don't think I've seen those.
Really? With Robert...
Driver?
With Robert De Niro, he's like, you talking to me? You talking to me?
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, and then the King of Comedy, which I haven't seen.
And that's funny because Robert De Niro's in the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that reference.
Yeah, because you're not a pop culture enthusiast like I am.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So the problem with the movie is...
Wait, there's a problem? I liked it.
No, there's nothing wrong with the film itself.
Oh, okay.
The problem is that there's like a vocal minority talking about... Oh, it's going to incite violence. I'm triggered. Hello, it's rated R.
Right. I haven't seen any evidence that... there's been a lot of stuff like that where they say that video games, for instance, incite violence, or that video games encourage misogynistic behavior, or that video games have negative impacts on culture. But there really hasn't been any good evidence, and a lot of people have looked for it over the course of the last couple decades that video games do that.
Oh yeah, I play Mortal Kombat, and not once did you see me pull a guy's head off.
Yeah, and I see people watch Harry Potter, and they don't think that wizards are real and that they can fly.
Yeah.
I think people are able to separate fantasy from reality.
But they think that this movie Joker is gonna it's a social commentary about about people in protest. Can we edit that out?
Oh, hey, we got a message. Cool. That must be one of our fans. We haven't even released the first episode, guys.
We'll edit this out, right?
No, let's just keep it.
Okay, let's keep it.
It's a little less than random.
It's a little less than random, yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about...
Okay, that's a good question. Does a little less than random mean that it's going to be, random would be the bar, and it's less than that?
I don't know why I chose that fucking title. We might as well call this something else. We're still in this testing phase of the podcast.
Right. Okay. All right. So Joker, you were saying about Joker and social commentary?
So yeah, Joker, supposedly it's a social commentary on outraged culture, where supposedly everyone's find it sensitive that... I guess because what happened in 2012 with The Dark Knight Rises with, some guy dressed up as the Joker, even though he wasn't in that movie. Anyway, he dressed up as the villain and shot up the theater in Colorado. Mm-hmm. But they just thought because, this villain, this fictional character is so iconic that he's going to incite real-life violence. Kind of like how in the film itself, again, if you, I'm going to assume you've watched it, Joker indirectly causes a movement, and then it's led this uprising, and this is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that. In the movie... Joker's kind of also a little bit of a hero in that one scene where he sort of first becomes violent, right?
Yeah. It's told from his perspective. He's the hero of his own story.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a frustration with the way that justice and way things are done. Like, just the world seems rough, and it seems like nobody's looking out for people. And so, for example, that woman who was on the subway, in some way he's sort of defending her. And himself, too.
Yeah. The same thing when he didn't kill that little guy.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess the politically correct term is little person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He says he was always nice to him, and so it's kind of interesting because that means he's not a completely insane maniacal character.
But then it was kind of ambiguous whether or not he killed his supposed loved interest.
Right, they don't show that.
They don't show that. It was implied.
Yeah. Well, was it implied?
Well, I don't know. Something was implied with towards the end credits with the blood.
But that was a little more clear because you saw the blood, and he had already made his full transformation at that point.
Yeah.
To the Joker.
But was it? I don't know.
Yeah, or was she?
You know, it's a movie that you would have to watch more than once.
Exactly, because you can't trust necessarily everything you see in the movie because he's that unreliable.
Yeah, he's an unreliable narrator. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what else were you interested in with the Joker?
Okay, compared to all the other Jokers out there, Cesar Romero, Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, and dare I say Jared Leto. Okay, who is your favorite?
Oh, that's a tough one. So I went into this really wanting to say that the Heath Ledger one was going to be the best. So I went into it biased, right? We call that motivated reasoning. And still, despite my motivated reasoning, I have to say I have a lot of respect for Joaquin Phoenix's performance. There were problems, I think, with both films as far as, well, I mean, they're fantasy, right? Okay. So they're not real. I really like the Heath Ledger version and iteration of Joker, but Joaquin Phoenix did an excellent job, and so that's testament to how good it was.
Yeah, it's like you can't just say, I mean, they're both great in their own way. It's like saying who's better, Tupac or Biggie.
I felt like conceptually, though, the Heath Ledger version, and this might not be the actors, the actors are portraying a character that they're given a script for, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to say who's your favorite because they're doing the best of what they have given the context of the film. Right, and they both did an excellent job. Yeah. I felt like the Heath Ledger's version, as sort of a kind of evil, like
nihilistic anarchist view of the world.
He also thoughtful too. He wasn't just purely insane and crazy, right? There was a lot more characterization, I think.
Yeah, he was kind of like what Alfred said in that. You know, some people want to watch the world burn, and he was that guy,
right? And so in the other version, you kind of get the sense that he is that sort of type of character that just wants to cause harm to those who harmed others. You almost feel that sense of justification in his actions. And that's probably how most people respond in those situations. I think most people who do bad things, they sort of self-justify it in some way as sort of balancing out the world because the world's already chaotic and pretty sucky.
And if I can quote what Heath Ledger said as the Joker in that movie...
It's been a while since I've seen it. What did he say?
Why so serious?
right.
What else did he say? Evening, Commissioner. Yeah. It's like, what else does he say? I could go on all day.
I know, I have to watch it.
He says something about gravity. What did he say? Madness is like gravity. You just need a little push.
All right, so
both Jokers are unhinged. If we're talking about Joaquin Phoenix to Heath Ledger. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think this one's more on his guy because he's more of a woke Joker.
That's what I was going to say. Thank you. I was about to say he reminded me of, there were a couple ways of interpreting it as the Joker being a bit of the social justice warrior of the
more
film.
like a woker.
Yeah, so because let's take the Robert De Niro incident and the Robert De Niro character where he felt insulted, right? And so it was like words hurt him. Words were violence. Therefore, violence is accepted as an appropriate response to those causing harm.
Are we talking about him in Taxi Driver, or are we talking about him as the host?
I'm talking about Robert De Niro as a host of the
Joker,
the show. Yeah,
when he played Franklin Murray. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
So what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's based off in The Dark Knight Returns in the comic where he gets into a TV show. It's a little reference to that. But yeah, he goes unhinged because he goes on to say, what do you get when you cross a sociopath? There was something within those lines that I can't remember to the best of my ability. But the punchline was, you get what you fucking deserve. Bang.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so...
that was a bit shocking.
Could that be a parallel to how right now there are some people who are conflating the views, and I'm kind of referencing a lot of the stuff that's been popular in the media lately about free speech, where some people are conflating making an argument with violence, with physical
Especially
violence.
gun violence.
Right. And so, yeah.
Because when you think about it, okay, the movie, the plot doesn't begin until he was given a gun for his protection after he got assaulted by some of these young punk teenagers.
Oh, so
in the beginning of the
do you
movie.
think there's an anti-gun message there?
Not so. Maybe it's a social commentary on gun violence, but I think it's just like a reflection of our own world. You know, like everything is always about gun control, right? But this is about a white guy. You know, white whatever you were saying.
Yeah, the Heath Ledger version, does he even really ever use a gun?
Yeah, a few times.
Okay. Well, sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
No, he uses a gun, yeah, but the Joker, like, well, this is as an origin story, someone using a gun to protect themselves before his full transformation. Kind of tells the story of an unhinged man transcending into madness.
Right.
Whereas Heath Ledger's Joker, that Joker's more of a mystery, but we know what his motivations are. You know, whereas Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, he's just
It's a question of whether or not he's just wired.
he's just part of a marginalized group where no one gives a fuck about him because he's underprivileged, you would say.
Yeah, and he might have been the untold or hidden son of Bruce Wayne's dad.
Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we did say there were spoilers.
Right.
But
Well, I imagine people are watching this. I don't think anybody finds out, oh, Joker might be the son of Thomas Wayne. I'm not going to watch the movie now.
Yeah.
It's not like when you spoiled Death Note for me.
You spoke it like as if you have already finished watching it.
I said I was watching it.
Okay.
And so you can assume that if somebody's watching it, they haven't seen the last episode.
Yeah. Okay, my least favorite Joker, Jared Leto.
Suicide Squad one, yeah.
Yeah, Jared Leto.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like what?
Well, he wasn't,
Joker with bling, with
well,
tattoos.
that might not be a fair.
More like a pretty boy Joker.
Well, it wouldn't be a fair comparison because he's not meant to be the center of the film.
Yeah. He was just. Well, I guess you can't have Harley Quinn without Joker, so I guess that's why he was in it.
Yeah, but he was sort of an afterthought. So I mean, that's...
Yeah, and he didn't have much screen time. And supposedly Jared Leto is offended or is mad about Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal of the Joker.
Well, I guess
out of jealousy. I don't know.
I have a feeling that a lot of these things are untrue. Every time that I turn on social media, I see like a sentence that could be interpreted like 10 different ways, and media always tends to go with the most weird and bizarre, overstated interpretation possible.
Hence the clickbait.
Yeah, exactly.
Titles.
Yeah. So that's my feeling on it.
Yeah. So Jack Nicholson, I liked. He was a classic.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever danced with the devil
Everything
at
he's
the
done
pale
is good.
moonlight? Or some shit like that, yeah.
Yeah. So we said that Joker was a little bit of a social justice warrior, a little bit offensive. Could we make the opposite case, I wonder? Could it be that...
Well, first of all, okay, I know there's people out there...
You have mail.
Oh, I have mail. Oh, no, you have mail.
I'm going to assume you don't know what the people listening, I assume you don't know what a social justice warrior is. And
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm throwing around...
Yeah, so to explain that terminology, because I think you would have to be on the internet a lot to know what that is.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that you just have to be on the internet a little bit. It's really popular amongst YouTubers. Like, if you say social justice warrior, most YouTubers know what that means, I feel like.
It's a negative connotation, though.
Yeah, it has a negative connotation, because actually social justice is a really good thing. And
Well, explain it.
And, well, yeah, people should be fighting for social justice. But a social justice warrior, when somebody calls somebody a social justice warrior, they're implying that they're engaging in...
They try to act morally superior.
They try to act morally superior, but they're not really all that interested in social justice. So
They're just doing it for clout, to get attention.
Yeah, so, the idea of virtue signaling. You're just trying to signal virtue without actually doing anything and getting your hands dirty.
They'll be offended by something like, well, the Joker movie, even though they have no intention of watching it, and they'll be offended by it.
Right, or it has very little to do with what they're saying. So this is that extreme end of the political left that says something like, serving peanut butter jelly sandwiches in class or at schools marginalizes those who don't traditionally eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And there might be a better version of that to say, well, maybe some people are deadly allergic to peanuts, so you should
So
be
people who
careful
are
with that.
allergic to peanuts are like,
No,
how
no, no,
dare
no.
you serve peanut butter
No,
jelly?
that would be the good interpretation.
Okay.
They're just saying that it marginalizes people who might be
But I'm talking about the
more accustomed to
extremely
eating.
insensitive people.
Yeah, no, I mean the people who eat tortas, let's say, so or they eat tuna sandwiches, maybe or a different culture that doesn't eat peanut butter and jelly together. So because I guess that is kind of an American thing. Although nowadays most I don't know, a lot of countries are multicultural. So I imagine we should embrace culture. If people don't eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, well, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are pretty darn good. So I think it's socially just to encourage people to try new things. You get what I'm saying, though, right? That's the extreme left.
Yeah,
And they get offended by everything.
Understand the anthology.
Yeah.
Analogy.
Yeah, maybe it's a bad example. It's not really an analogy. It's just an example. So those people who get angry and upset over that, for that reason, they would be the social justice warrior. However, somebody who goes and finds that, let's say, some sort of rule is limiting access to a public good or service to a part of the population, and they figure out how to remove that barrier. That is a good thing. That's just social justice. And so there's a difference between social justice and social justice warriors. So social justice warriors are often associated with virtue signaling and what's called slackativism, lazy activism.
Oh yeah, I'm down for the cause. Hit like. They don't actually do anything.
Right, or something as just kind of obvious as slavery is wrong. Well, of course, slavery is wrong, or child trafficking is wrong. You shouldn't have anybody on your friends list who thinks child trafficking is okay. So the question is, all right, well, now what? More than just that. So that's the example. So that's how I separate the social justice warriors.
But those who are like against something so trivial.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
When people make a whole lot to do about.
Oh, especially in the video game world, like this character, this female character has big boobs. I feel so offended. Cancel this game or redesign it. Even though, like I said, they won't have any intention of playing the game. If anything, game sales are gonna go up because the other people who find nothing wrong with it are going to be more interested in it.
It's funny. Yeah, it has that opposite effect where you make people famous even if you don't like them. So when I come across somebody who I don't like, I don't go sharing it and arguing against it. I just ignore it.
So there's no such thing as bad publicity. Any publicity is what does it say?
Right.
Any publicity is good publicity.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, that happens a lot in culture where people just start to take sides.
Yeah.
So with the Joker, he becomes kind of a political movement because of what happens in the bus and because
indirectly.
Yeah. And he and in a way he seems to be a bit of that social justice warrior character. I was asking, could he be the opposite? So what would we call him then? Because you were saying he could also be interpreted as kind of that the crazy white guy who starts shooting everybody.
Yeah.
Right. It could be that anti-gun message too.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I like this Joker. He dances. What other Joker have you seen dance?
Right. I've heard people say that there might be a reading of it. I've heard the reading about incels. Is that what they're called?
Incels.
And then there was a reading where he might be homosexual or he might be gay.
Well, because he has that affectionate voice.
Well, because of the dancing,
voice.
which to me is a stereotype. Just because somebody dances doesn't mean that they're gay.
No, they're just being sporadic and funny. Yeah, so tell people what incels are. I don't think they know what that is.
Well, no, I don't want to say it because I'm not sure if I know exactly myself. So there's a difference. Okay, I'll try. There's a difference between incels and the MGTOW crowd, right?
MGTOW.
MGTOW?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so the MGTOW is men who go their own way, right? And so I guess these are men who can get dates and can get women. Maybe they have, but maybe they went through a difficult divorce and they've decided, I'm not doing that again. And then the incels are the involuntary celibate type dudes, right?
Yeah, the guys who are just radicals and they're just pretty much misogynists in that they demand sex. They thought they do,
right.
Sex is deserved upon
Well, okay, so that's it's the sense that every human should be deserving of some affection and love, right? And And there's some interesting data here. Maybe we can link to it. There's a blog post by OK Trends. I don't know if anybody's heard of OkCupid, but OkCupid is a dating site that what's really cool when dating is online is that you can track the interactions between people at massive scales. You can track millions and millions of interactions. And so you start to collect data about how humans interact. And that to me is a fascinating way to study human relationships. And so they did this with Tinder too. And these are called, the blog post is called Tinder Experiments II. People can just type in Google Tinder Experiments. And it shows the interactions between men and women. And so it shows that the 20% most attractive men get something like 80% of the women on Tinder. And so when you really look at the trends out there, that means, and that's probably true in real life too, is that a few men date the majority of women, right? And so women are choosing the best men they can get, right? Which just makes sense. And so there's a lot of these men who are just sort of involuntarily left out of the dating pool. And so it's that the men in the bottom 80%.
So what does it say about those guys, that they're sexually inadequate or they're undesirable?
That they're undesirable, right. And so rather than try to work on themselves to become more desirable, because nobody's fixed in their
they just become these hate mongers who just
who
demand sex, like,
well, not necessarily
I can't get
sex,
laid,
but they feel that the world is unjust.
They are owed sex.
Yeah, they're not by one person particularly. I'm trying to steel man what I think they might be viewing. But probably that
these terms.
Steel manning. Steel manning is to give the best version of the opposing argument. So I'm trying to get in the head of what an incel might feel. And so an incel might feel like,
I'm going by what Wikipedia says. So like
I don't know.
They believe they are owed sex.
Well,
not to that full effect, but more or less.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take two versions of that interpretation. Should
want to pull it up?
Do we? I guess we could. Should every human being have the opportunity to have an intimate relationship?
Yeah, I mean,
at some point in their lifetime?
It's human nature that we want. I mean, it's part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And funny enough, that's on the lowest tier.
How funny! I was typing in incels, and the first thing that was gonna pop up, the first suggestion by Google is incel joker. So apparently, this is a common debate. Okay, so it says, involuntary celibates are members of an online subculture who define themselves as unable to find a romantic or sexual partner despite desiring one, a state they describe as inceldom. So discussion in incel forums are often characterized resentment, misogyny, misanthropy, self-pity, self-loathing, racism, a sense of entitlement.
Especially that part, self-entitlement to sex.
Yeah, and so when you said that they're owed sex, are they owed it by one person, from one person in particular, or just that they feel like people should be able to find a romantic partner? So I'm trying to give the best interpretation.
I think this is the radical...
Yeah, the
radicalization. They're just so fed up and sexually frustrated.
Right.
They're like, no one wants to fuck me. I want, these are the people who have rape thoughts.
Right. And so I don't know what data there is out there, but there's some data that shows... Well,
take for instance, everyone's heard of the mass shooting that happened in California a few years back. The name of the shooter was Elliot Rodger. It's pretty much, he was an incel. He pretty much killed people, or I don't know who he killed exactly. Google it. So this is it right there.
Oh, where is it?
In 2014, Isla Vista killings. Pretty much, he was an incel. He had a shocking video where he said that his motives were just pretty much because he couldn't get laid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, yeah. So there's some data and evidence that people look at crime statistics and they track crime to income inequality. But it's interesting that most of the people who do violent crime are male. And so it speaks to, the fact that humans are animals too, just with bigger brains, and that they have sexual selection matters, and trying to climb the economic hierarchy is one way to signal dominance, and that women are trying to get the best mate possible, just like men are trying to get the best mate possible. And so men tend to engage in violence as a means to as a risky way to climb the hierarchy. And so that could be one of the commentary here is that the Joker, not necessarily being able to get
well, because one,
with the
he's
neighbor that he
marginalized.
likes. Yeah, he's marginalized.
And I was getting to that too. So he's socially awkward, marginalized, and has a mental illness.
Yeah.
But you know what? Joker gets some anyway because does he not get with Harley Quinn? Oh, but I'm sorry, not this version of Joker.
So this is a standalone film.
Yeah, this is standalone. This doesn't tie with the Suicide Squad.
And it can't because, if it did, how Bruce Wayne's close to middle age by the time he becomes Batman, right?
Yeah, so that makes Joker
So that would mean
older.
Joker would be 80s. It's just picking on a mentally insane 80-year-old. I'm not trying to sound 80s.
Unless, suppose if you want to go on theory that Joker's a title and then someone else becomes Joker, but then that's just overthinking it. This is just a standalone film. It's more of an art house film compared to, like, say, the Christopher Nolan Batman films where, like, more action oriented and great storytelling. But this one's more of an art house film. It's more about the psychology of a mentally unstable, unhinged man, and yet people are saying this movie is dark. Oh, I mean, yeah,
it is dark. Yeah,
it is dark. I mean, what do you expect? You want them when you go to the theater? You want them to have the lights on?
Right. I wanted to see because there are different versions of dark. You remember the movie, one of the Dragon Ball Z.
You like Dragon
movies?
Ball?
Yeah, I do.
Let's see. No.
All right. So where Frieza's tied to a tree, right? And there's these like little unicorns and like fluffy animals that like start singing that song. Like that's dark too, But
I mean, everyone has a perspective of dark,
right? Exactly.
Or of their own misery.
Yeah. Well, clowns in general make for good horror. I mean, that's just.
Yeah. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Joker even.
Yeah. Hold on. My cat's here, so if you hear some random cat
So
sounds.
should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.